Good evening, children. Hope you all are well. So today we are just going to start a new chapter, and the name of the chapter. Right now, I will not just disclose the name of the chapter, as because you have to just understand. You have to just guess that which chapter we are just going to read today. The first and foremost thing is that the last chapter, when he entirely stopped before this ongoing COVID-19, that was all about rebellions, resistances, and rebels, in fact. So I had clearly stated during that time that what is the basic difference between the rebellion and the revolution. So far in India, a lot of rebellions, uprisings, rebellions have been taken place, but enduring all this fact and the most important outbreak as a revolution till now in India, that is which one? Can you guess? Yes, 1857's revolt or the Sepoy Mutiny. We cannot correctly call it the Sepoy Mutiny, as because so many historians they have just argued on this matter, on this issue, that we should not just call it the Sepoy Mutiny. Instead, we should just call it the 1857's revolt or the Great Revolt of 1857. Now, first and foremost thing is that why should we call the 1857's Great Revolt or the Great Revolt of 1857 instead of Sepoy Mutiny? If we call it on our own willing or deliberation that this was merely a Sepoy Mutiny, so what is the discrimination? What is the problem with that, with the term? Let me tell you that in the Indian freedom struggle movement since 1757 till 1947, when India attained its independence, during this period, during this long term of event in India, we have, with the Indians, we have just witnessed a lot of social discriminations, injustices, tormentation, extortions, even the exploitations on the Indians done by the British English East India Company, and after 1857's revolt, obviously it was the British government. So why this should not be called the 1857, the Sepoy Mutiny? The fact is that when the revolt broke out exactly after 100 years later since the Battle of Plassey. You all know the story. What were the reasons, what were the circumstances for what the Battle of Plassey broke out? We the Indians are quite unfortunate to say that we had just lost the battle, means the war, and finally, what to say, that the last independent Nawab of Bengal, Sirajuddaulah, he was badly just defeated in this war, and finally the English East India Company that started to boost up their power, to spread out their domination, extortion, and exploitation over the Indians for a long period of time. In these 190 years, the most important outcome, that was 1857's revolt. In this war, in this revolt, for the first time we could see, being an Indian also, I'm also feeling very proud to say, to tell you that this is the first and foremost not individual but collective resistance done by the Indians. As I can just search it from the internet, the Google, if you can also search it out in Google if you have, you can see that the Indian rebellion of 1857 was a major but ultimately unsuccessful. Yes, it was an unsuccessful movement. It was an unsuccessful rebellion or a revolt that took place in India. But fortunately, yes, surely you were just listening correctly. That is fortunately, this was for the first time in India that was happened, and for that reason, the British English East India Company, they got frightened. They got scared out of this, that the Indians could do so collectively, unitedly. They had done so. So today, in this context, we're just going to read, we're just going to discuss about chapter number 4 for you from your book, that is early stages of collective action. Exactly, we're talking about 1857's revolt or the Great Revolt. Not only from one part of India, a group of peoples, they had rebelled, they had revolted against the English East India Company or the British government. This was for the first time, withholding the fingers, withholding their hands on the shoulder of others. The Indians, for the first time, they had started a violent revolt against the English East India Company, and this time their slogan was absolutely clear, just like water, that English East India Company, now you should leave India. I think in standard 9 you have also read about that what were the reasons for the outbreak of 1857's revolt, what were the main causes of the 1857's revolt. But in this chapter, in class 10, we are not exactly discussing that what were the causes, what were the impacts, what were the consequences of 1857's revolt, but we're just going to discuss about 4 important topics. Listen very carefully. I'm just going to tell one more time for your betterment that the 4 major elements of 1857's revolt or the Great Revolt of 1857, here we're just going to discuss. The first topic is the characteristics of the revolt of 1857. I'm just going to repeat once again. The characteristics or the characteristic features of the revolt of 1857. Number 2, the nature of 1857's revolt or the Great Revolt of 1857. So the first one was characteristic. Number 2, this was the nature of 1857's revolt. And number 3, should we call the 1857's revolt merely a sepoy mutiny? I repeat, should we call the 1857's revolt merely a sepoy mutiny? And number 4, that is it correct to call the 1857's revolt the first war of independence? I repeat, is it correct to call the 1857's revolt the first war of independence? Before just coming to the point of characteristics of revolt of 1857, we have to discuss that what was the exact date? What was the exact date? When did the revolution? When did the revolt? Oh my God! I just told revolution. Okay, so it must be 1857's revolt, not revolution exactly. Okay, so 1857's revolt broke out when and where did the first spark of 1857's revolt take place? It was in Murshidabad. Exactly, it was in Berhampur. The first spark of 1857's revolt broke out, and whereas the most important cause for the outbreak of 1857's revolt was, I'm talking about the immediate cause of the 1857's revolt was, can you guess what was the reason? In standard 8 you have just read it. Can you remember? Yes, children, I'm just talking to you. No one. Immediate cause of 1857's revolt, that was the introduction of Enfield rifle. So many of you have just got the correct answer. You were thinking in your mind that sir can tell this. Okay, so the immediate cause or the direct cause of 1857's revolt or the outbreak of the 1857's revolt, it was the introduction of Enfield rifle. Basically, the cartridge, the paper cartridge of Enfield rifle, before just loading it, the sepoys, they had to just beat it. They had to just beat it and steer it by their teeth. So and finally they could just reload the paper cartridge in their gun. It was a rumor, you can say that it was a myth just spread all over India, that the British intentionally, deliberately, willingly, they were trying to just convert the religion for both Muslims and Hindus to the Christianity. There was a scareness everywhere. It sparked out impetus of scareness. It had just sparked out everywhere in India. That was the main reason. Apart from the immediate cause or the direct cause of the outbreak of the 1857's revolt, lots of indirect causes were responsible there. Social cause, political cause, economic cause, socio-political cause, and so many were responsible. So we have just come to know the spark of 1857's revolt that sparked out in Murshidabad, Berhampur. It was in 1857, and finally from there, when the movement just sparked out in different parts in West Bengal. Secondly, it was in Barakpur. It was at Barakpur, the first martyr of 1857's revolt, an Indian who had just shot up by his gun, who had assassinated, who had killed, who had politically murdered a British officer. And the responsible person on the responsible from the Indian side, he was Mangal Pandey. He was the first martyr of this movement and the organized protest movement. If the question comes in a question paper that when did the revolt start for the first time, it was on 10th May, the organized protest movement. 1857's revolt, it was started on 10th May. It was at Meerut. So the main centers of 1857's revolt, the first credit, it goes to Meerut. Apart from Meerut, Awadh, Rohilkhand, Kanpur, Agra, Jhansi, Gwalior, and other places of North India, also the movement spread out over there, just like a fire, just like a spark of fire. It had just spread out in different parts of the country in a very short span of time. This is one of the most important characteristics of 1857's revolt. I must tell you to the children that you can see the extension of this movement, in which extent it had just spread out in all over the country, inside the country, means inside India, within a very short span of time in different parts of the country. It had been just spread out. And I completely forgot to tell you that when at Barakpur, when the movement first occurred, I couldn't just tell you the date. I didn't tell you the date. That will be 29th of March 1857, when the Bengal regiment fired a shot at a European officer on 29th of March 1857. It was obviously in West Bengal. As a token of love, as a token of tribute to give away to the first martyr of Indian Sepoy Mutiny, the Great Revolt of 1857, Mangal Pandey, Garden or Mangal Pandey, that is a famous place, Mangal Pandey Garden or Mangal Pandey visitors place at Barakpur. It's very famous. You can just go over, you can just go through over there with your parents. So tremendously good. It is a very awesome place to visit, to just mesmerize our historical context or the events. Okay, come to the point. So if we're talking about, if we can just talk about the social causes of 1857's revolt, the first and the foremost thing is that the different exploitative natures of English East India Company, such as the doctrine of lapse that was introduced by Lord Dalhousie. The subsidiary alliance also played a vital role to spread out this kind of discontentment amongst the Indians. Lord Wellesley, who had just introduced the subsidiary alliance in India also. So this kind of policies became a vibrant, a part of vibrant thing in India. Forward the 1857's revolt just broke out, and Rani Laxmi Bai of Jhansi also, she just put up a stubborn resistance, but she died fighting the British forces on 17th of June 1857. In the book of Kalyan Chaudhuri, it's written 17th June 1857, but if we search in internet, it can show the different thing that if we search it in internet, that when did the Rani of Jhansi, Rani Laxmi Bai from Jhansi, when did she die, it can just tell the different thing to us. Let's we just search it in internet, because I'm having also doubt with the date. So I'm just going to search in internet, so I'm just coming within a few seconds. Till then, just wait. Okay, so I'm just back. I've just searched right now, means just a moment ago, that when did Laxmi Bai of Jhansi she died, means she died, and I've just got the answer from Google, that is 18th of June 1858. So children, make sure and please just correct it. I'm just telling the name of the chapter, that is early stages of collective action. You know the name of the chapter, that is 4, and page number 57. I just repeat, this is from page number 57, and paragraph number 3, last line, she died fighting the British forces on 17th of June 1857. Instead it will be, I'm sorry, it will be 18th June 1858. I'm just going to repeat once again for you children. Rani Laxmi Bai, she died fighting the British forces on, it's not 17th June, it will be 18th June 1858. So what it's written in your book, the date and the year, both are incorrect. Make sure. So this can be one of the most important questions for the Madhyamik examination. So please make it correct, that it will be 18th of June 1858. Rani of Jhansi, she died. Different persons from different regions, they had just given their leadership, but finally we have to just read that ultimately unsuccessful, the movement was ultimately unsuccessful. From here I'm just going to ask you a question, children. After discussing the whole chapter, I'm just raising a question to you. You will tell me. You can just send the answer by recording through a mobile camera or any kind of computer. You can just send me a very short clip, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, anything you can, through that is WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, any kind of application you can use. The question is, Google says that the 1857's revolt is ultimately unsuccessful. It was ultimately unsuccessful, but being an Indian, should we call that 1857's revolt was surely an unsuccessful movement to us? This is my question. You will tell me the answer by sending a short video clip. I will just check out each and everyone's document in my mobile phone or in my laptop. So you have to tell me that whether being means being an Indian, should we call that the 1857's revolt was ultimately an unsuccessful movement or not? Okay, come back to the point that I told that different personalities or different leaders from different regions of India, they had supported, they had participated in these movements, though the circumstances were different, though the motivations, though the reasons could be different. Just for example, take an instance that Laxmi Bai of Jhansi, why did she participate in 1857's revolt? If we are talking about Rani Laxmi Bai, why did she participate? Why did she support in this movement of 1857? Due to doctrine of lapse, she had already lost all her territories to the English East India Company, as in by imparting, by just interpreting this kind of vulnerable policy. Yes, vulnerable policy, that was the doctrine of lapse. English East India Company had occupied the entire territory of Rani Laxmi Bai from Jhansi. You know that at earlier she got married with Gangadhar Rao, and as per to the terms and conditions, due to the doctrine of lapse, Rani Laxmi Bai, she was not allowed to adopt a son, as because Gangadhar Rao, he had just died earlier. So that's why after his death, Damodar Rao, he was the adopted son. He was the adopted son of Rani Laxmi Bai. So that's why the English East India Company, they could give the recognition. They couldn't just give the affiliation to this boy. So finally, a fierce battle took place between Rani Laxmi Bai and the English East India Company. And what was the consequence? What was the most important outcome of this fierce battle that took place between Laxmi Bai and the English East India Company? Rani Laxmi Bai, she was defeated badly by English East India Company, and finally, what happened? her territory was annexed due to the unrest situation that was prevailed in Jersey. So another time we have to say that this movement means Rani Laxmi Bai, though she had fought valiantly against the English East India Company, but still she was not successful to put a stubborn pressure upon the English East India Company. Okay, now Kunwar Singh freed parts of Bihar and helped the revolt forces and Lucknow and Kanpur, but he died of a fatal wound in Bihar. So Kunwar Singh, he was from Bihar. He had also participated in this movement. This is one of the most important question for the Madhyamik examination, that who had participated in 1857's revolt from Bihar. The answer will be Kunwar Singh. I repeat that who had participated in the 1857's revolt from Bihar. The answer will be Kunwar Singh. Tatia Topi, how can we just forget about Tatia Topi? She was also means really she was means a gentle lady. Went to central India and fought desperately against the British soldiers. Ultimately, means Tatia Topi, she was betrayed and he was betrayed, captured, and sentenced to death. Tatia Topi, he also fought means valiantly against the English East India Company, and finally he was captured and he was put behind the bar. He was imprisoned, and finally he was sentenced to death. Delhi was recaptured by the British in the third week of September 1857. The sons of Bahadur Shah. Oh, I just forgot to tell you that who was Bahadur Shah. Here exactly not the Bahadur Shah. You have to tell it whether Bahadur Shah 2 or Bahadur Shah Zafar Khan or Bahadur Shah Zafar. Actually, Bahadur Shah, there are two different persons in the Mughal administration, in the total Mughal dynasty. First one, it was the Bahadur Shah, and the second was the Bahadur Shah Zafar, the Bahadur Shah Zafar II. During the 1857 revolt, Bahadur Shah Zafar, he was chosen by the sepoys that he will be the leader. He will be the national leader of 1857 revolt. Though for the first time he was not ready to accept this proposal from the Indian side, as because he sought to think that if he just if it appears to if it seems to be appeared that if he just joins with the movement, if the movement fails at the time, what will be happen. But finally he sought to think, no, the time has just come, as because yes, I've just got the designation that I'm the Mughal Emperor, but I don't have any vanity, I don't have any prestige in this present situation, in this present circumstances. So that's why she means he thought that this will not be the correct thing. Means wait a minute, sorry for the interruption. Okay, so finally he also thought that I've just got the means designation, I've just got the name only. By name I'm the Mughal Emperor and nothing more than that. So that's why he had also just supported this movement within a very short span of time. And what is the ultimate result? Means what happened? What is the consequence for what means he had just joined the movement? The result was he was deported. He was sent for an exile. EXILE. Exile means নির্বাসনে পাঠিয়ে দেওয়া. So he was also sent to means for an exile to Myanmar. At the time it was Rangoon. So he died over there at the age of 82. Okay, so this was how British supremacy over India was fully re-established. Now come back to the point, as because I have just already discussed that what were the circumstances, what were the reasons, or else what were the causes for the outbreak of the 1857 revolt. Children, I have just discussed, I have just shared my thoughts and views with you, as because I think that without knowing the causes or the reasons of the outbreak of the 1857 revolt, you will not be just able to understand that what were the characteristics. Children, one most important thing, most of the students, they just hold it wrong that characteristic features and natures are same. They think that characteristic features and nature are same. আমি বাংলায় বলছি এটা তোদের বোঝার সুবিধার্থে। সেটা হচ্ছে যে অনেক স্টুডেন্টসই মনে করে যে ক্যারেক্টারিস্টিক্স এবং নেচার এই দুটো জিনিস এক, কিন্তু দুটো জিনিসের মধ্যে কিন্তু অনেকটা ফারাক রয়েছে বা একটা ডিফারেন্স কিন্তু রয়েছে। তো First of all, I will tell you that what are the basic differences between the characteristics and the nature. You have to understand that what are the characteristics and what are the natures. Characteristics. Sometimes we do say that characters. আমরা অনেক সময় আমাদের একটা ক্লাসে বসে রয়েছি, তো ক্লাসের মধ্যে আমার হঠাৎ একটা পেন চুরি হয়ে গেল। তো আমি পেনটা পাচ্ছি না, খুব এক্সপেন্সিভ একটা পেন। তো 3 দিন 4 দিন বাদে যখন পেনটা আমি কারোর ব্যাগ থেকে বের করলাম বা পেলাম, চিলড্রেন ডোন্ট টেক ইট নেগেটিভলি, আমি জাস্ট এটা এক্সাম্পল হিসেবে বলছি। তো আমরা বলি যে ওর ক্যারেক্টারটা খুব বাজে, খুব খারাপ, ও আমার পেনটা চুরি করে ব্যাগের মধ্যে রেখে দিয়েছে। কেমন না, ওর কাছে এত ভালো ভালো পেন থাকা সত্ত্বেও আমার পেনটা চুরি করেছে। So this can be called one of the most important characteristics of that boy or that girl. This is called character. Character in Bengali, if we just do or define the term or the definition, that will be that what is the Bengali meaning of character? That will be in Bengali choritro, character. So if we have to analyze the character of any particular revolt, rebel, resistance, uprising, or any kind of rebellion, first of all we have to just know that what was the extent of this movement, and what kind of peoples from different religions, from different perspectives, from different communities they had participated in. And the third and the most important fact is that what kind of weapons and what kind of amenities had been just used in this revolt or in this movement. For just like for instance, I can tell you that in the 1857 revolt, or in this movement 1857 revolt, the peoples from different castes, from different religion, from different community, irrespective of caste, creed, religion, they had just supported, they had just revolted in this movement, as because the basic or the common agenda was very clear to the British, to all the Indians, that to drive away the British government, to drive away the English East India Company from India. So many of you may ask me that sir, Rani of Jhansi, she had participated in this movement as because she had to just attain her self prestige, what she had just earned earlier, that was just lost by the English East India Company. So that's why she had just supported this movement. But what's the problem with that? As because the agenda, as because the motto was quite same. There is no differentiation, there was no discrimination in this case. If Rani of Jhansi, she had just participated, she had just enforced the movement against the English East India Company to fulfill her own aspiration, to fulfill her own desire. So what was the heck about that? There is no problem with that. She had tried a lot to drive away the English East India Company, and there were oppressive powers from India permanently. This was the fact. So in which extent the revolt just broke out, the revolt spread out. Number 2, that was how many peoples and from which community, from which groups they had just supported, they had just revolted. This is also very important to us. And number 3, by which we can just categorize that this can be one of the most important characteristic features of 1857 revolt, that you can see it from page number 58. I'm just reading the book, Kalyan Chaudhary. Another characteristic feature of the 1857 revolt was that the rebels burned the government records. What were the consequences? This may one of the most important features, the characteristic features of 1857 revolt, that the rebels, they had burned the government records, similar to what they did in the accounts of books of moneylenders and the Shaukars, kind of moneylenders. They had to just take the dalils, the documents that could be preserved from the poor farmers, to give away the money as a lending, as a debt. They had to just the poor farmers, they had to just submit their documents of their own land to the money lenders. Instead of that, the money lenders, they could just give away some money to the farmers, and finally when it will be just returned to the poor farmers once again. At the time, the poor farmers, they had to just bear all the principal amount along with the interest to the shaukars or the money lenders, so kind of money lenders. Despite the British attempt to create a Hindu-Muslim divide, the two communities fought shoulder to shoulder against the British colonial rulers in the revolt. This is one of the most important factor in the 1857 revolt so far we have just read. This is for the very first time after 1757 we have just come to know that the Hindu-Muslim, they were not divided. They had fought shoulder to shoulder in this revolt, in this movement, and finally they had just protested against the injustice, against the tormentation, extortion, exploitation of the British government. They could not just tolerate it so far. Azimgarh Proclamation. Let's come to the point of Azimgarh Proclamation. This is very important. In Madhyamik test paper, you will just get this question several times, so don't just ignore this point. Very important. Stay tuned. Okay, the proclamation, publicized on 25th of August 1857, stated clearly that both Hindus and Muslims were being ruined under the tyranny. Tyranny, a kind of extortion that is generally done by the head or the administrative society on the common people's tyranny. Shoirachari, in Bengali this is called Shoirachari. যখন একটা রাজা, যখন একজন অথরিটি, অ্যাডমিনিস্ট্রেশন সাধারণ মানুষের কথা বা প্রজাদের কথা না ভেবে যখন সে তার মতো অত্যাচার করে যায় প্রজাদের উপরে, this is called a tyrant government or tyrannical government, and oppression also of the infidel and treacherous English here refers to the English East India Company. The rebels showed commendable courage and dedication. Thousands of them courted death fighting for a cause they held dear. In some areas of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, peasants and artisans rebelled against the British rulers, as also the new zamindars who were the creation of the British themselves. Not only to the British English East India Company they had revolted, along with they had just revolted so many times to the agents of the English East India Company. Here exactly I'm just going to clearly define that who were the agents of the English East India Company. Listen, can you just remember that what was the basic proposal or the intention for forming out Macaulay's Minute of 1835? Macaulay, he wanted few English educated Bengali middle class, those who could speak like English, those who could taste like English, those who could just wear the garments like English. They were successful to just sow the seeds amongst the Indians. Why so? The agents of the English East India Company, they were the Indians. They were the Bengali people's middle class educated Bhadralok, Bengali Bhadralok. They had supported. They sought to think that if they help to the poor farmers, if they help to the poor peasants, if they win against the British, over the British, what could be happened? What can be happened? What is the result? They might lose all their vanities, all their prestige, everything. So that's why they were frightened out of this. So that's why instead of supporting this movement to support the poor farmers or the peasants of India, they had supported the English East India Company instead. This can be one of the most important reasons for the failureness of 1857's revolt. These all are the characteristics of 1857's revolt. So I have told you that in which category, on which grounds you can discriminate, you can tell that these are the characteristics. Characteristics basically define that revolt of 1857 for a long time mistaken to be a mutiny of the Indian sepoys under the English East India Company. The revolt indeed was joined by different classes of civilian population, giving it a greater dimension. Thus, it is better to be called Revolt of 1857. Exactly what I've just told to you, children. That is not only from one of the small part of the country they had just joined, they had just supported in this movement. Apart from that, most of the peoples, the communities, the peoples from different groups, different cultures, different clusters, different parts, they had joined this movement. This is the most important feature, I mean the characteristic feature of 1857's revolt. It had given one of the most important dimensions of 1857's revolt. For that, the movement or the revolt of 1857 became a better one. Chronology in history plays a very vital role to know, to just work out, to just rescue the events. Since 1757, when the Battle of Plassey was fought, 23rd of June, till 1857, what is the gap? 100 years, exactly 1 century. You have just heard correctly. It is 1 century, 10 decades or 100 years. In between that, the socio-political characters, the socio-political environment of India was completely changed by the English East India Company. There was nothing to do, means apart from driving the English East India out from our country, the Indians couldn't do anything. So the motive of this revolt or this revolution was very clear to the English East India, I mean for the Indians to drive away the English out of our state, out of our country permanently. So for that reason, we should not just call it merely a Sepoy mutiny. If you also being an Indian, you are not respecting our country. We are not looking forward to keep the prestige, the vanity of our country. Being an Indian, we shall never call 1857's revolt a Sepoy mutiny. Instead, we have to just call it the Great Revolt of 1857. The characteristic features of the revolt of 1857 were many, as they were varied. The Sepoys was followed or accompanied by a rebellion in the city of countryside. In several places, the common people rose in the revolt even before the Sepoys. When you are listening my speech in your mobile phone or in desktop, please just underline the sentence. If you're having a pen or pencil with you, just write now, you can just underline the sentence what I've just read from page number 57, third last line, last paragraph, third last line. In several places, the common people rose in revolt even before the Sepoys. If you can see that the Wahhabi movement, the Firazi movement, the Pagalpanthi revolt, the Sannyasi revolt, the Chuar revolt, the Parashat uprising, in each and every rebellion, you have just found that a very small part of the state or the country, they had joined in this movement. That could be one of the most important reasons for the failures or the failureness of this movement. But here we can see that before starting the movement of the Sepoys or the peasants or the farmers or the Sepoys in India, the common peoples, they had started this movement. In several places they had started it. So we can concretely say that in 1857's revolt, not only the Sepoys, they had supported, they had revolted against the British exploitation. Instead, in various places of the country, the common peoples, they had started to agitate against the British and their exploitation. So it's better to call the 1857's revolt or the Great Revolt. Don't call it the Sepoy Mutiny. The movement is over now. as in we cannot just bring it back to our lives, but still we cannot just call it the Sepoy Mutiny. So these are the characteristics. I'm just going to repeat all the important points what I've just put to clarify that what can be the characteristics or the characteristic features of 1857's revolt. Just make it sure that we have to just see for the first time what was the extension of this movement, in which extent the movement was confirmed, the movement was started, the movement was spread out. Number two, the participation of the common people. Number three, the participation from the different castes, different groups, different communities, different parts. Number three, what kinds of weapons were used, or the amenities were just used. What were the casualties? What were the casualties, and what were the consequences or the impacts of the revolt? This may be one of the most important part of the characteristics. Here we have just read. Number three, that what was the that is, yes, it was not a communal divide. It was not a communal activity. It was not a communal broadcasting that was started by the Indian Hindus and the Muslims. For the very first time, they had started to protest against the English injustice. They had just fought shoulder to shoulder. Azimgarh Proclamation can be one of the most important examples for that. So for today, up to these children, hope you all are well, and as in due to this novel coronavirus, we cannot just come together, means we cannot just sit together. So the problem has been just aroused at present time, but still we are trying to just to overcome this problem. Till then, stay safe, stay home, as because only staying at home can just defeat this ongoing coronavirus or COVID-19. For today, up to these children. Next day, means I will just start. I will just upload another video for you. If you're having any question, if you're having any doubt regarding this thing, regarding this chapter, means up to how much I've just taught, you can just write me on WhatsApp. You can just send me short video clip in WhatsApp or in WhatsApp Messenger or Facebook Messenger also. And don't forget to just answer me. I just want to know, I just get to know that all the students, they must just submit the assignments that I have already sent to you. Total 3 assignments I have just sent you already. You have to just do it. The answers will be just revealed shortly. Till then, you just wait. And one most important thing that I have just already told you, that I have just asked you a question that as in when you search in Google says that it is the movement of 1857's revolt is unsuccessful, ultimately unsuccessful movement it is. So what do you think about that? You can just record your voice, you can just record your video. It must be a very short video. It can be maximum 2 minutes or 2 minutes 30 seconds. In between that, you have to just explain that why do you think that 1857's revolt not ultimately an unsuccessful movement in India, but it was a successful one. No, it was not a successful one, but still we just cannot we cannot just call it ultimately unsuccessful. It was not ultimately unsuccessful. I don't think so. So what are the reasons, what are the arguments from your side, children? I want to know that. So please just record your video and send it to me. Till then, stay safe, stay at home, and the next video is coming soon. Just stay tuned with me. Thank you. Good night.